Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, SavageTechman. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello again, this is SavageTechman, aka Ed, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. This is episode 34, and we're concluding the Dawn of the League series with the ultimate female superhero, Wonder Woman. If you wanted to check out a couple episodes back, we had episode 30 on Superman, and then episode 33 focusing on Batman. And so in episode 34, it is all about Wonder Woman. It's all about girl power here, okay? And Gal Gadot did a wonderful job in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, playing Diana Prince / Wonder Woman. And we're going to see more of her in the future next year in her Wonder Woman standalone film, which will be wonderful. But we're going to focus on just some of the facts and just a little bit of history for those of you that may not know about Wonder Woman. Let's see. She first appeared in All-Star Comics number 8 in 1941. So she goes way back. Her first appearance in the New 52 was in Wonder Woman number 1, which was in 2011 when they did a restart there, DC Comics. And as we said, she plays Wonder Woman's alter ego. Not really alter ego so much, but she is Princess Diana or Diana Prince. And she's basically an immortal Amazon from Greek mythology. Definitely that is the way they're going with the Wonder Woman movie that's coming out next year in 2017. But basically, Wonder Woman, you've had the Diana Prince duality, and then you had the Wonder Woman persona. So, just like Superman, just like Batman, Wonder Woman has evolved with the times as she's changed a lot. Her original beginning started with her being in the army and during World War II, and it's really around that time she came out in 1941, so around that time, she was fighting Nazis and all that. And we saw the wonderful, probably the ultimate portrayal of her in the 70s. We saw that on TV, Wonder Woman. And Linda Carter was awesome in that role. And we see a different retelling of it now. They're going more with the Amazonian origin, and their origin keeps kind of changing and shifting with the times, with the generations a little bit. But basically, the original, which the TV series followed at the time, back in the 70s, it talked about, Steve Trevor. He crashes on this island, which is Themyscira, basically. And Diana, she makes him known to the people of her world, basically. And it's all a completely female culture. They don't trust men. They've seen the ways of men in general that ran the world at the time, and all the wars that were fought. And we see in spoiler alert here if you hadn't seen Batman vs. Superman, but we see the picture in the movie there that Diana was trying to steal from Lex Luthor's computer system, and he had files on all the metahumans, and she was one of them, obviously. And there's this picture, I think, going back to 1918 that Bruce finds, Bruce Wayne, and they end up sharing information back and forth. She's like, "You've never met a woman quite like me," and so she's been around, and she says in the movie that she kind of, towards the end of the movie, that she left men in their, basically the 20th century, because she saw the wars they waged, and she just did not want to be part of that, and she didn't quite understand, I guess, to an extent, why they made the choices that they made, ruling the world that way. But she's a very significant role model for women. And yes, it was kind of sexed up, back in the days in the 70s, obviously, growing up, Linda Carter was Wonder Woman, still to this day is. And Gal Gadot's doing a wonderful job, don't get me wrong. It's a different actress, a different time playing Wonder Woman, so I can respect that. One of the greatest things I loved from the original series in the 70s was Linda Carter and how she portrayed. She basically seemed to be powerless when she was Diana Prince, and that's something the comics have gone back and forth with. And then she would do her little spin around thing, and then you'd see like the little lights and colors or whatever, and then she'd have the Wonder Woman suit on, and she had her bracelets, which were bulletproof, and it was awesome. She still has that. She's actually picked up some. We'll talk a second about some of her powers and all that, but one of them she's picked up in the new movies is with her bracelets. It's like she can clank them together or something and create like shockwave of some sort, almost like an EMP to an extent, I guess. But in the TV series with Linda Carter back in the 70s, she had her lasso of truth, which she still has, and she uses that in the new movie when they're fighting Doomsday. And her golden lasso of truth, and it was really cool because she had it in the TV series, and it would make people tell the truth and all that. She basically, she was a visitor to the world of men at that time, and for lack of a better word, at least in the TV series, that's kind of how men were in charge pretty much of the world back then. Women not in as many leadership roles, at least in the government and all this, during when this all occurred in the TV show still. And she just had to kind of figure out why we waged war, why we had such hatred and stuff like that. And then she had a crush on Steve Trevor, obviously, but she was here to basically promote a peaceful world and deal with also being a warrior in her own right. In the TV series, one thing that's different, and this is getting into powers now, talking about some of her powers, one of the biggest things is she had the invisible jet in the original TV series, which was awesome. You could see her in it, obviously, but you couldn't see the jet, which, if it were invisible, you're just supposed to imagine that, you can't see her at all. And they never say where she picked her jet up from or whatever. One of the cool things is her costume changed. Like when she went in the water, she had this whole like swimming suit on when she spun around. And it's kind of like Superman. Where do your clothes go? Like when he went through the turnstile door in Superman from 78. And then, when he goes up the elevator shaft and all that, where does his clothes go? Where do they disappear to? I don't know. But like she would just spin around in a circle and get the whole Wonder Woman thing going on there. And so talking about Wonder Woman's powers, she obviously has super strength, probably on the level of pretty much Superman. She can hold her own pretty much with Superman. She's not completely invulnerable. She's very close to it. She's a goddess, an Amazon warrior, and they are some of the strongest fighters in the comics there in mythology. So her being a warrior certainly helped her when she came to this world. She has excellent combat skills. Now in the comics, in the TV series, obviously they didn't show her flying. They probably couldn't have done that technology. And I'm not sure exactly why then. Maybe that was part of her origin. But later on, when we get into some of the DVD movies with the Justice League and all that, and Wonder Woman shows up obviously as a main part of those, she has the ability to fly. And I'm like, well, I didn't know Wonder Woman could fly. And she could do it in the comics too. And it's like Superman originally couldn't fly. He could leap buildings in a single bound, basically. So he kind of hopped, jumped really long range. But eventually they made it flight and all that, and it's worked out pretty good since then. But Wonder Woman had the issue of she gained the ability to fly, and so that's interesting. She's a very good strategist when it comes to any kind of combat, basically. She has superhuman agility. She can run fast. She has a healing factor, sort of like Wolverine's or like Superman does. And she has her sword that she uses in her shield and all that, which I don't remember so much of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the TV series, but definitely they're going more in Batman versus Superman with the actual mythology of it, the Greek mythology. So she's got a sword and she's got the shield, which comes in very handy when they're fighting Doomsday, and she is awesome. And she's been a very big presence, and for just like Supergirl is inspiring a lot of young girls coming up now that may be in the comics and stuff, like the TV series and Supergirl in the comics. A lot of women have been objectified through comics through the decades and all that, and Wonder Woman was by any means was she not objectified, but she did always have that strong presence. She was always a warrior. She would scrap with anyone, but she had that strong sense of what is right and what is wrong, and has a great moral compass in that sense. So, interesting fact when we talk a little bit about the series, when they were doing a TV pilot movie, Kathy Lee Crosby back in the day, and that actress means nothing to anybody who's been born after the 70s, basically, but she was kind of a big star back in the day. But she was originally going to be Diana Prince, and this is back in 1974 in that pilot movie that they did for TV. And it just didn't work out, and she worked for the OSS under Major Steve Trevor. And then we see Linda Carter come along, and she was just, working for the OSS and out of Washington, D.C., and the IADC, the Interagency Defense Command, they changed names, what she was working for. And, I've watched reruns of it and seen the series and all that. And yeah, for the 70s, it's a little hokey looking at it now, but it's felt very comic booky, just like Batman was in like 67, 68, then the 60s early to the early 70s. Well, we saw it in reruns kind of in the 70s and such, but, it's very comic book like in the way even the scenes were portrayed and everything and all that. But she did have a distinctive sound, kind of like the $6 Million Man, which I grew up on also. Totally loved that show, and along with the Bionic Woman. But, she had a special kind of sound when she would, jump up to a balcony or something, or jump off the side of a hill or something to save somebody and all that. And some people call it the Wonder Spin, I think is what they called it. And that's when she went from Diana Prince, and then she transformed into Wonder Woman. And she was powerless, like I said, in the series, which is interesting. I'm not sure. I pretty much think that in the new movie, she's pretty much Wonder Woman all the time. Her disguise is not Gal Gadot. That's the actress that plays her. But I think her disguise is more Diana Prince in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. She really is just the Amazon superhero and all that. And she obviously, I think during the 70s, definitely in the 70s, I remember growing up watching the Super Friends, and she was definitely a big part of the Super Friends. Wonder Woman was definitely, like I said, in an age where women didn't always have the lead roles and the powerful roles and of significance. Wonder Woman always did. And I think of Linda Carter, and I keep bringing her up because really she's Wonder Woman to me. I know we have Gal Gadot now, and that's my new Wonder Woman, but for me, the original Wonder Woman's gonna be Linda Carter, and she just did the role really well, and it was a moment in time. It worked really well, and some of the show does still hold up. Some of it is kind of hokey at this point, but that's fine. I was just very pleased with Gal Gadot's performance in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, because she's part of that trinity of the Justice League. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They're like the core. And once again, spoiler alert, if for some reason or have not seen Batman vs. Superman, I can't understand why, but if you haven't, it's a great movie, and you should see it. she plays such a pivotal role in it, and in the end you see that Batman's got, after the death of Superman in the film, after fighting Doomsday to the death, you see that Batman's going to bring the League together because they're going to fight Darkseid. Pretty much is what's going to happen. They don't really say Darkseid, but you pretty much get there. And there was some cut scenes from Batman vs. Superman that shows one of the harbingers of Darkseid. I believe Steppenwolf is his name. And very funky looking outfit, but it showed up online. And we're definitely getting an R-rated cut for the DVD/Blu-ray when it comes out. That's going to, it was almost, I believe, 4 hours long. So maybe the extended collector's edition will be the longer fight scenes. It'll be a big to-do. I don't know if I can sit through 4 hours of it, but it was good. The movie was good anyway. It was a long movie at about 2.5 hours, but it was definitely worth it. And I saw it recently again this week, so I've seen it a couple times, and the whole thing about Batman vs. Superman, talking about the box office of it, it's roughly going to clear. It's just hit the 800 million mark at the time I'm recording this, and it's also, that's globally together with the U.S. box office, but just the U.S. box office, it just cracked the 300 million mark, and so that's awesome. I'm glad to see that. So it's going to come out as basically a modest hit for the studio, because it's rumored it cost about 200 to 250 million to make, and they were saying that they've spent roughly about 400 million promoting it, which is amazing. But this movie has to work. Man of Steel was a good setup for it, and this movie was much better than Man of Steel. And we touched on this in the last couple episodes, but it's very important that Batman vs. Superman, that fans get out there and support it. It's not just because they need to, but it is a good movie worth seeing. And the success of this will definitely make sure that there are, that we see the other standalone movies, and will eventually lead up to a Justice League movie, which I can't imagine what the budget's going to be like on that, because it's going to be amazing, because I don't think they can do it under 200 million. Everybody's going to have to keep their salaries to a minimum. And we've got news that came out this week on the success, even though it's a modest success, it's still a success of the movie, that Ben Affleck is going to get to write and direct a standalone Batman movie. And we may see that as early as 2017, 2018. Not quite sure at this moment, but that's a good sign. So I think Ben Affleck did a convincing performance as Bruce Wayne and as Batman in this film. I thought the cast across the board was solid. The movie kept my attention. I was quite riveted by it. So definitely a must-see. And definitely own it when it comes out on Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. And especially the R-rated cut, it will be interesting to see how that differs from the PG-13 that we got in the theater. So, they're going to pick up a lot of sales from that, possibly. I kind of wish they would release it in the theaters as the R-rated version. That could help the box office, especially since we've seen Deadpool become such a hit, and not just the U.S. but worldwide. It's become the biggest Marvel movie just about all time, and not the biggest, but close to it. It's cleared 300 million, and or just about 300 million domestically. So we're looking at Batman vs. Superman, right up there with it. So, but what's happening now that we see an R-rated version of Deadpool, which is the best way that movie could have been made? Now it's kind of greenlit Wolverine, the final Wolverine movie with Hugh Jackman, to be an R-rated movie, which is kind of what we really want to see. We want to see that total berserker rage, and we've talked about that on previous episodes. But it also opens the door for, I think, Batman vs. Superman, the R-rated version coming out. So I wish they kind of put it in theaters just to give it a try, even if I hope it's not 4 hours long, but I don't know, it'd be interesting to see. So that's about all I've got right now for this episode talking about Wonder Woman. So I want to hear some of your thoughts on your favorite parts of the Wonder Woman mythology. Did you think Gal Gadot did a great job, or as best as she could? Do you kind of miss some of the brightness and the colors of Superman and Batman? Even though Batman versus Superman was so dark, I wish it were a little bit lighter. I still want to see a Superman movie that's lighter, but I know that, like I said in previous episodes, that the tone of this has changed. So I guess with the times, things are darker in that sense in the world of comic book adaptations. But I don't know. I still enjoyed the movie. I saw it, like I said, I saw it again. So definitely check that out. And I'm interested to see Captain Marvel when that comes out, because that'll be another strong female character that's supposedly going to get her a movie. So we'll see when that comes out. And, we have Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson in Avengers, and obviously coming up in Captain America Civil War, which tickets are already on sale for. And I was at the theater today and saw the collector's cups and everything there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, gotta get that. But we'll definitely be talking about Civil War when it comes out. It got one of the highest ratings on, I think, Rotten Tomatoes, so that's a good thing. And certainly better than, hopefully, the critics have already been kind to that. They're saying it's possibly one of the best movies, one of the best Marvel movies that have been done. So that'll be interesting to see. And I'm looking for one day when we get a Justice League versus the Avengers or something crossover. I could definitely deal with that. That would be super awesome. So anyway, if you get a chance, go check out some Wonder Woman comics. Check out her backstory. You know her backstory, but she has a lot of years of continuity throughout the comics, and now through TV and definitely movies now, you'll get to see her, and I hope that the Gal Gadot brings a great performance to the Wonder Woman, standalone movie that's coming up as part of the whole Justice League standalone movies that we're eventually going to get. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and let us know what you think at Geek Homeworld. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast with your host, SavageTechman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes, see us on YouTube, be part of our Mixler chats. Thank you. See you again on the Geek Homeworld podcast.